like a magic from my mama. Be innovative, yeah, that's what she taught me. Create the colors, make a masterpiece. And don't you worry what them haters think. Just take your time with it. You a boss, you a queen, you a diamond. Don't you be afraid of your ego. Wear it like a promise, this is your show. This is a black girl nation, a black girl creation, a black girl song for a black girl generation. Spinning in the gold of our ancestors, claim it. Got the magic flowing through our veins, you can shame it. Name a better species in the game, you can name it. Black girl nation. Our backs tell the story of history on the spines. We make up the cosmos, we make us up mankind. Don't know who you mess with, you better step aside. These black girl aesthetics is spin to blow your mind. We're so divine with it. Change the game, switch up the roles, put the shine in it. And don't you be afraid of our ego. Welcome to the planet, this is our show. This is a black girl nation, a black girl creation, a black girl song for a black girl generation. Spinning in the gold of our ancestors, claim it. Got the magic flowing through our veins, you can shame it. Name a better species in the game, you can name it. Black girl nation. We live in a world where they don't want us to be alive. Sometimes it gets hard to be yourself, let alone to thrive. But this is a message to remind you who you truly are. Just sending up the sun, the lightning in the stars. This is a black girl nation, black girl creation. We're lighting in the stars. Remember who you are. This is a black girl nation, black girl creation. We're spinning in the gold. This black girl magic flow. This is the black girl nation, black girl creation. We're lighting in the stars. Remember who you are. This is the black girl nation, black girl creation. We're spinning in the gold. This black girl magic flow.
From a different continent, I packed a bag in confidence. I didn't come for compliments, oh no. A couple decades working late, 100 no's, 100 fails. That's what it takes to elevate someone. And now I use the high IQ to get the check. Don't spend it on some stupid kitty flex. I prove nothing to no one but myself. Nah, I'm looking inside me and I love what I see. I'm a grown fucking woman and I don't give a shit what you think about me. I'ma keep it moving and I don't give a shit what you think about me. I'm a grown fucking woman. I'm a grown fucking woman. Honey, I'm a grown fucking woman. Don't talk while I'm trying to talk. Still the time to get it right, to plant the seeds and get them right. But finally I'm outgrowing all my growing pains. Every insecurity is fading out, cause I see the full me, and she was worth the wait. Now I use that high IQ to get the check. Don't spend it on some stupid kitty flex. I prove nothing to no one but myself. Now I'm looking inside me, and I love what I see. I'm a grown fucking woman and I don't give a shit what you think about me. I'ma keep it moving and I don't give a shit what you think about me. I'm a grown fucking woman. I'm a grown fucking woman. Honey, I'm a grown fucking woman. Don't talk while I'm trying to talk. I don't bother bully, need my head 100. Got a bit of fun and hits a cutter on my own republic. I can't feel like weight on my philosophy precludes me from being a fake. Call me Draco and I slither in a McDo. Scars gouged by the double-headed eagle. I'm bound when the rednecks kill my ego. Vision, I got vision, they don't see the shit I'm seeing. But in the end, that's what separates the girls from the women. I'm a grown fucking woman and I don't give a shit what you think about me. grown fucking woman, don't talk while I'm trying to talk. Don't talk while I'm trying to talk. Talk while I'm trying to talk. Don't talk while I'm trying to talk. And I know that it blows your mind. It blows your mind. How do I do it? So effortlessly. How do I do it? In my sleep. How do I do it? You know that it comes from within. Nothing can stop me now, 'cause I was built for greatness.
Hello. Welcome back to this channel, everyone. It's your resident internet psychic medium and spiritual advisor, Mr. Crane. How did you like that intro? Huh? Was it a vibe? I think it was a vibe. But if it's not a vibe, please let me know, because I don't actually want to put you guys through this every time we do a stream. But hello. How you guys doing? Let me know if the feed's okay. Let me know if the audio is okay. And just so you guys know, I am using a new streaming software. And so the delay with the streaming software is a lot longer than it was previously. And so some things you may need to give me like 30 seconds or so in order for it to populate on my side, but that's cool. We're just going to roll with the punches. It was fire. I love it. Okay, who's in here? Takers Love 23 is in here. Cute is in here. Chantal is in here. Donald is in here. Marissa is in here. Batter Body. Okay. You're in here. I am Lisa is in here. Man, I need glasses. Hold on. I got to move this screen to my bigger screen. Who is that? Shakidia is in here. Sharon, what is Sharonda? Hey, Sharonda. Hey, guys. How you guys doing? Crystal clear? Awesome. Good, good, good. I'm glad you guys were rocking with it because I realized very early on, this being a baby streamer and everything like that, is that there are so many things that happen right before you hit good, like go live, that like I wouldn't anticipate. Like it could be your standard technical difficulty, like can't get the mic to work. But then like sometimes like you'll just forget something. You forget what you wanted to say. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, I left my phone in the other room. Sometimes it's like, I got to pee a little bit. Do I think I can hold it for the whole time? And then you're like, no, I should probably go to the bathroom now. Like all of these things happen to like pop up. The phone rings like right before you're supposed to go live. And I was like, before we were having like this thing with too much dead time in the middle of when YouTube said I was going live versus when it was actually going live. So I figured I'll give you guys a vibe and until it's done, until I'm prepared, fully prepared. But I missed you guys because last week there was no live because it was my birthday. And like I told you guys last week, I was frolicking. Can I tell you how I frolicked? I packed up the car and my husband and we went on a road trip. I was like, I need a beach. I need a shore. I need waves. I can't do this. I need to get out of here. And so we did. We like quickly booked like an Airbnb, which was super cute, by the way. It was like over 100 years old. And there was a part of me that was like, I know, like this place isn't totally unhaunted, but like, let me mind my business. Let me just go to sleep. Like, let me just like mind my business. And so like, that was what I did. But I was at the beach frolicking and I was rolling around in the sand. And by rolling around in the sand, I quite literally mean that I like got in the sand and rolled around in it at the beach while being washed over with waves. And it was wonderful and it was glorious. And then I had this thing where I was like, I want to go to PF Chang's for my birthday dinner. And the reason for that was because I had never been to PF Chang's before. And it wasn't even a situation of like, oh, I bet it's good. It was like, okay, I have to understand what the hype is about. Like, why is everyone doing this all the time? And like, why do I always hear people talking about it all the time? And why are like the reviews so high when you like look up a PF Chang restaurant? And, you know, I gotta tell you, unimpressed. The satisfaction of like having my own answer, that was there. But like, being impressed over food quality, to be completely honest with you guys, I feel like that restaurant went into a Publix, a Kroger, a Ralph's, a Winn-Dixie. They went to the frozen section. They pulled out PF Chang like fried rice from the frozen section and like served that. I swear to God, I was like, y'all, like the thing that you freeze must just go everywhere. It must go to the restaurant. It must also go to the grocery stores because there's like nothing in here that like is like special. And I'm also surprised at how much it costs because it's not special. And then people were willing to pay for it. When we went, it was like super crowded and other people were having birthday dinners there. And I was like thinking like, okay, so like this must be it, but it wasn't it. It wasn't it. You know, but that's okay. You know, I had the satisfaction and like that was important. I did some shopping. I'm partial to shopping. For those of you that are new here, I have this thing where when I shop and I'm really excited about what I'm buying, I get like, I black out. It's like this like euphoria thing where I'm like, oh my God. And then like I come to like an hour later and then I'm like, oh my God, my things. So I also did quite a fair bit of shopping and that was fun. So much so that my husband looked like he wanted to start hyperventilating in the store, literally. And he started shaking his hand when I was like, honey, can you pull out the card? You went to his wallet like this. And I was like, that's okay, honey. We're going to work through those money blocks. So I had a blast. Hey, Mystic, happy belated birthday. Thank you so much. You got, yeah, thank you, guys. I had a lot of fun. You celebrated your husband's birthday last week too? Oh, better buddy. Oh, well, happy birthday to him too. Oh, there's a lot of Geminis in here. Well, happy birthday to all of you guys. And I hope you guys had a good day. And if you didn't have a good day, I hope you choose that the rest of your year will be better. I do this thing every birthday where I like take stock of my life. And I think about, as I'm going around the sun this next time, what do I want for myself? And so what I decided that I wanted for myself for this particular trip around the sun is I wanted to focus on being like emotionally healthy, right? And like where that came from was like maybe about 6 months ago. So I guess actually around the new year, I was like, health is wealth. That sounds nice. I want to pursue that, right? So I started pursuing like my health journey. And so this was like diet, exercise, and then really figuring out specifically what works for me, right? Like what works for like my body type and what does my body like? Because these sort of stereotypical diets that you can Google, they don't work for me. And like the stereotypical exercise regimen, it doesn't work for me. And so instead of being like discouraged because I feel like I'm like trying to do these things and like they're not producing the results that I wish that they would produce, because I've always been like a yo-yo dieter and like trying to just figure it out and just always felt like unsuccessful. And the times when I was successful at it, it was always something super unhealthy and super restrictive. So like, and it was always monitored. Like I've always had like monitored like diet plans, like with doctors and stuff like that. But it was either like super heavy, like calorie restrictions or whatever, or just like food that like maybe I'm allergic to and it just doesn't resonate with my body. And so I was like, you know what, this year I'm going to find what works best for me. And I've actually been doing really well at that. I've been discovering new allergies that I didn't know I had, like, which is interesting because some of these foods that I'm realizing I can't eat are actually part of like diet plans. And I'm like, this is why y'all were going to kill me, So like being on that journey. And then I had this like realization where I was like, okay, but health is like holistic. It's everything. It's like your physical health, but it's your mental health and it's your emotional health. And if you're not taking care of those things, then like you can be physically healthy, but like your mind is going, right? And you need your mind and your body to be able to work together. And so I decided to like really pursue like that. Like I'm going to work on like my emotional health. So it was less about mental health, but and there's an understanding that mental health and emotional health are intertwined, like they're tied together. But I really wanted to work on my like emotional health. And then what did that mean for me? It meant resolving outstanding issues related to hurt, pain, feelings of like betrayal, feeling like people like wronged me, feelings of resentment. And kind of how I like got to knowing that that was what I wanted to do was about a month and a half ago. I was in one of my group Reiki sessions and the topics of like mothers came up, like mother wounds and like how like conflicting it can be internally when you like love your mother, but like you feel like she hurt you or she dishonored you or she didn't love you in the way that you wanted to be loved, or maybe things happened as a child, but with a child's mind, you didn't have the ability to understand. And maybe it was interpreted a certain way. And then as an adult, you're like holding on to this wound. Even if it's a situation where like intellectually you understand the circumstances, but because you got the wound as a child, it's hard to like release it. And so we were like in this conversation about like mothers or whatever. And in that conversation, I talked about, well, my mother's passed away. Me and her have a different kind of relationship now. And they were like, the two women went, but are you okay? And I'm like, I'm good. And they were like, no, but like, are you okay? And I was like, no, like I feel resolved. And it was that moment where I was like, oh my God, resolution is something that I hadn't, I wasn't consciously aware of the fact that that was like the path or the journey that I was on. But I didn't realize that that was like an option to feel resolved with like a person or previous conflict or pain or hurt until I had gotten there. And I think the reason for that is because people don't talk about resolution. People talk about forgiveness. Oh, you must forgive. It's for you, right? But I think that there's something that's powerful in resolving it within yourself, because there's a lot of moments where people go, okay, fine, I forgive you, but it doesn't dismiss the hurt or the pain or the betrayal. Your forgiveness may bring you to a place of like acceptance, right? It may be that first step of getting you to that place of peace that's really important to you. But feeling resolved, like after the forgiveness, do you feel resolved? You may forgive someone for doing something, but maybe you never receive that apology that you secretly hope that you would have. And even through the forgiveness process, you may understand that you may never get it, but are you resolved in that feeling, right? Are you resolved? The Most High. At Mystic Rain, the Bible strongly condemns spiritism, mediums, the occult, and psychics. That's okay, baby. I don't know what that got to do with me. You know, the King James version of the Bible was written by the same guy, or was approved by the same guy that wrote the book on demonology. Okay. So take everything with a grain of salt. Take everything with a grain of salt. Okay. Anyway, but do you feel resolved within that? And what I realized with my mother and getting to a place where I felt resolved, I felt like it was like finished. Like I could release it. It was resolved, you know? And like that felt more liberating and it felt more powerful than just forgiving. And so what I want to do is resolve those open wounds that I have in my life, because that's my responsibility. It's not the other person's responsibility. So I'm now in the process for this year of taking into consideration the relationships that I've had with various different people who I feel like have hurt me in some kind of way, that like created a wound that was difficult to close. And I want to resolve those things, because being angry and like being hurt, like that's like, I don't know about you guys, but I find that to be incredibly exhausting. I find the energy to be super heavy, and I find the act of it to be just really exhausting. And it's not something that I enjoy. And so it's an energy that I don't really want to hold. Like, I don't even like talking with people if they get angry. Like, that's like a thing that I have, which is probably, I mean, I suppose it depends on like how you look at it. But like, if you are someone who's talking to me and we're having a conversation and then something happens and then you get like angry, like this thing happens in me where like a wall just goes up and it's almost like stonewalling. And it's not like the best thing for the other person to experience, but it's definitely a thing that like shields me. I'm just so uninterested because I feel like we can resolve this in 5 minutes if like both of us remain calm. But when you get angry, your anger triggers the other person, then they're triggering you. And it takes a situation that could have been resolved in 5 minutes, and then it escalates it. And next thing you know, you've been in the falling out for years type thing. And so it's not something that I want to hold. And so I've decided for this year around the sun, I will not be holding it. Mm-hmm. It's lovely to know that even though I am living in a bit of a bubble of my own making, I'm still connected to the collective. I am a mirror, a light, a door away, and so is everyone else. That is so beautiful, and it is so true. Like, it is so true. Blocker. No, I mean, she can stay. She can stay. The Most High can stay. You know, more power to her. And here's the thing. The Most High, if you're still in here, you are welcomed in this space. We are not like a collective group of people that are here to bash each other. We are very supportive of each other and each other's like journey and growth and evolution. And so you are welcomed in this space. I mean, if you're on the bullshit, I may say that, but there is nothing but love that I have for you. And there's nothing but love that exists in this space for you. So if you would like to hang out with us, you are more than welcome to. And it's also okay that you do not believe any of this. This is not a space where we ask you to. Everyone should have their own belief. Everyone should challenge things that they don't resonate with. And everyone should then ask themselves, well, why don't I resonate with it? What about it do I find triggering? Because there's something about it that draws you to it, or you wouldn't have ended up in a room with all these people who are like-minded individuals. Hi, Tommy. I'm wondering if the small freezes is my internet connection. Well, it could be my internet connection. Is it my internet connection? I don't know. If mine start well, and you'll let me know. You'll let me know. So yeah, that was my come to moment for this year. So that's what I'm going to be working on. That's my self-work for the year. I want to release and I want to resolve, and I want to be able to do that, understanding that some people may be a part of that resolution process. Some people may not be a part of that resolution process, but the only person that's responsible for my growth and my healing is myself. And so if they want to be a part of the resolution process for myself, I honor that and I welcome that. But if that's not what they want to do, then I also honor that and I welcome that too. And that's just kind of the space that I'm in, you know? And then since then, I have been catching up on sleep because I was road tripping and it was a good time. And then I've been catching up on sleep, and then I've been eating pastries and cakes and stuff that I got that I didn't finish. And so we're going to work our way back. We're coming back to this. Okay. So today's discussion, what do we have? I'm thirsty, make my tea. So what came through, and this actually came through like a week ago. And then I forgot it. So like a week ago it came through and I was like, oh, I gotta talk about that. And then I forgot it. And then I had a moment of panic. And I was like, oh shit, what was it? And then it took me like 2 days to remember it again. But essentially what we're going to talk about acting accordingly. And for me to really kind of drive this point home, I feel like I want to first start by pointing out all the ways in which you don't. And when I was like downloading this stuff and like really kind of like thinking it through, what I realized is that the majority of us, myself included, we don't really act accordingly, but we don't know that we're not doing that thing, right? It's not until shit hits the fan or a lot of things happens or goes or whatever that suddenly we're like, wait a minute, maybe that shouldn't have been the decision that I made, or maybe I shouldn't have done that thing, right? So like, let me back up. A lot of people, including a lot of you, including myself at one particular time, although I do feel that I have made a lot of shifts in my life in regards to this, have figured out a way to configure your life in such a fashion that it is built for the satisfaction of other people. It has been created to appease other people. The majority of you, which is why people struggle with feeling happy for an extended period of time, or like feeling like happiness and like fulfillment is fleeting, like you get your hands on it, but then it kind of goes away, is because the life that you've created and the things that you're doing wasn't for you. It wasn't created with your happiness in mind, and it wasn't created for your satisfaction. Most people's lives has been configured for other people. And so think about like your relationship to your family, maybe your relationship to your parents. If you have children, the relationship that you have to your children. If you're in a relationship, your friendships, your job, your employer, the relationship you have to your employer. The majority of people's lives is configured in such a way that it is for literally everybody else. So an easy example of this is like, how many of you have been in a situation where you have moved to a new location for a job, right? You have configured your life to appease an employer. So there's somebody that's the head of that, that's sitting at the top of that, who probably doesn't even know who you are, to be quite honest. And you have configured your life for this person in order to have like this job, right? Or maybe you were in a like romantic relationship Maybe that person got a job offer somewhere else that required them to move. And so they were like, okay, well, I got to move. They then like reconfigured their life for the appeasement of that thing. And then maybe you then reconfigured your life for like that person, right? And I'm going to start pointing out a lot of examples. And I do want to say before I like really kind of run down this rabbit hole is that I do not believe that there's like this like inherent major problem in this. I do think that sometimes where we are in that moment, it feels like that's the only choice. And so we make it, right? Or maybe it's a temporary choice or whatever. Maybe we're just not aware of the fact that we're doing it. Or maybe that choice actually ends up opening your life in other ways. It brings other opportunities to you. And so it ends up being a blessing, right? So I'm not saying that those things aren't possible. What I'm saying is that like it just these things happen and I'm trying to point it out to you, right? Or maybe you have an older parent who is maybe not that healthy. And so maybe you have dreams and goals for yourself. You want to move and go explore and travel, but you find that you stay home often because you want to be there just in case something happens, right? Maybe you have children and you want them to be in a stable environment, which is reasonable, right? Or you want them to stay in a good school, or you don't want to disrupt their life, because we all know that like disruption for children sometimes is not helpful. We all get this, right? But because of that, what ends up happening is that your life ends up being configured for this person. And so you end up in this loop of life, and it's a loop where everything you're doing is for everybody else. And it's at this big level, starting from the fact that a lot of the times you're not even in the location that you would prefer to be in because of somebody else. Even if you are in the city that you would like to be in, you may not be in the house that you want to be in because of somebody else. Maybe you live with your family. They drive you nuts. They run your blood pressure up. But because you want to keep them happy, keep them calm, you don't want them to get upset, you are in this environment that you probably wouldn't choose naturally on your own for these other people, right? And so what's happening is that you end up in these situations where you know internally that you deserve more. And then so you sit there and you go, oh, like I really want more. I want more for my life. I want more out of my life. I want this. I want that, the third, like whatever, you know? I want to experience this thing, but then you have all of these things that you feel like is holding you back. And then sometimes what happens is that becomes the easier said than done. Somebody can then say to you, okay, well, why don't you change it? Like me, right? I can then say to you, why don't you change your circumstances? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And it's like, okay, but it's easier said than done because I got these people that I actually really care about, that I actually really love. But if I do that thing, if I go to that place, if I move to this area, if I go pursue that thing that I actually really want, I may be disappointing these people. These people may be mad at me, right? And so then we have ended up in a situation where your life has now been configured for other people. And then so when people get to this journey of like more, when they're like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to take that step of life because I want to live a life that's for me. And it's really hard to then actually go make that decision, right? But you're like, okay, it's time. Whenever you get to that point where you're like, it's time for me to do this, then what happens is that you then start trying to figure out how to untangle that. How do I unravel all of these pieces and all of these configurations that have been created where I am trying to make everybody else happy? Because a lot of the times when you are appeasing other people, a lot of the times when people have that self-realization, it's not like you're happy about it. There's a moment where people go, oh shit, because then you realize how far out it goes, how expansive it goes, how many times there's been a situation where like you let somebody else have their way and it wasn't really what you wanted and it didn't really make you happy. And then it escalates and it turns into the situation where you don't feel properly valued by people. You don't feel properly cared for by people. You don't feel properly considered by people. You get into a place where you feel like, so nobody fucking gives a damn about my desires and my wants and my wishes. Everyone just thinks that I'm going to accommodate them. And then the answer is, well, yeah, because you have been doing it. And from other people's perspective, it's not viewed as you accommodating them because that has been the history of your relationship. That's all they actually know of you in the relationship, especially if it's like a family member who is older than you. And then they knew you maybe because you're family, right? So they knew you at some point when you were a child or when you were young. And if they are older than you, then there would have been a dynamic of accommodation because, I mean, at least not the kids born these days, but like children, accommodated the people that were older than them. And people sort of get stuck in that cycle with you and they don't know how to release it. And so you're looking at it from the perspective of, so you don't give a damn, right? Like you don't really care about me at all or any of my desires or my hopes or my dreams. And they're looking at it like, I just thought that this was our regular relationship. I was completely unaware of the fact that you felt that I was accommodating you or that you were accommodating me at all, or that you were inconvenienced by me, or that you had to put things down in order to tend to me. I just thought that that was the nature of our relationship. And then so what happens when you start to reconfigure your life and you start to do things to accommodate yourself, then that's where a lot of the miscommunication can happen because you're like, I don't understand why you're not supporting me in this. I just want to live for me. And they're not, and they're thinking like, well, why would you say that? Like, why do you think that I wouldn't support you in that? But also, hey, remember that thing you used to do for me that you did so well? Like suddenly you're stopping that. I really relied on that because it's probably something that they did rely on, right? Like, and then suddenly now you're the bad guy and you're the asshole, right? And so, but there's something that happens in like all of those situations. And prior to getting to the point where you're like, okay, I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to do what I need to actively do to change this because I want a different kind of life. There's this voice in your head that says, okay, but I feel like I deserve better than this, or I feel like I deserve more than this. And when the process is starting, before you reach that point where it's time to transition and reconfigure, that voice starts really low, but it grows and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until the point where you now are ready to transition into that part of your life, because then the voice is like yelling at you. It's like, damn it. Like, why are you not doing me? And then you're fighting. And then it gets to the point where you're like fighting yourself, right? This is a new tea. Isn't that cute? It's purple. It's good stuff. I don't know what I do with the wrapper. It's good stuff. If any of you is curious, by the way, I just got all types of distracted. But if you're curious, like, what is that? That's what that is. Screenshot it if you must. So anyway, so with that now being in your awareness, I have a question that I would like to ask you, but I also have a challenge that I would like to propose. Whenever you reach a point where that voice says, okay, but I really feel like I deserve better than this, or I really feel like I deserve more than this, you have now reached a crossroads. You're at a fork in the road, right? You're at a choice point. It's time, like I love to say, to make a new choice. It's time to do something because that voice is now loud enough for you to hear. And if that voice is saying this to you, that means one, you know the answer, right? But two, you are not acting accordingly. So anytime you reach a point where in Abraham Hicks' teaching, it's called the contrast, which I absolutely love, where you reach a contrast point, right? And a contrast point is when you get to an area where you're like, it is a flavored milk tea. Yeah, it is. It is. See? It is. Some people are like, girl, would you finish or something? Wait a minute. I gotta let it come back. Okay. So when you get to the point where you're like, okay, look, do I deserve better than this? Do I deserve more than this? I feel like I do. Then that's when you know the answer and it's time for you to start acting accordingly. And then that will help you start managing these shifts that actually need to happen, right? And when you can identify that it's a deserving thing, right? That maybe it's related to you being treated better, people talking to you better. Maybe there just needs to be more respect in a situation. Maybe a situation where, like, maybe you want more money. Maybe you want, like, not to be criticized at work for doing a good job when your colleague does literally nothing and then, like, they get no problems, right? Maybe it's something physical, like you're like, this was a great starter home, but I really want a bigger house. I want to expand in this particular area. Whenever you get to the point where you feel yourself ready to accommodate or ready to settle, then that's what you need to say to yourself. But do I deserve more? And based off your answer, you then need to act accordingly. Because at that point, if you get less than what you deserve, it's now your fault, right? This goes back to taking accountability for what's going on around you. Because once you take accountability for it, you can change it, because people don't like to take accountability for bullshit, right? You can then flip the script. But do I deserve more? And then act accordingly. That guy you've been seeing, you know that situationship, the one that, like, goes off the grid, every other day, like every other day. And then maybe he pops up on a Tuesday. You know that guy, the guy that you swear is gonna get his act together. That guy. Hmm? Do you deserve more? Do you deserve better? Should you be acting accordingly? You said you wanted a ring. It's been 5 years. Should you be acting accordingly? You said you wanted a popping career, but your boss already told you that they don't see themselves promoting anybody. Should you be acting accordingly? You'd like a raise, but then they only give you that bullshit cost of living adjustment that doesn't match inflation. It made you mad. Should you be acting accordingly? You have a family member that disrespected you at the cookout, but because traditionally you've always been the baby of the family, you didn't say anything, but you feel really disrespected publicly. Should you be acting accordingly? Your landlord is an asshole. They never respond to any of your maintenance requests. You're living in a house and everything is broken. None of the appliance work. Yet they expect to have their rent on the first every month, every time. But they won't do their job. Should you be acting accordingly? You're a woman. You need an oil change. So you take a car in. The men there think that you're stupid. And they start tacking on things on the price because they think that you're too dumb to know that they're actually upcharging and upselling you because they think that you're not smart enough to know how much an oil change costs. But you don't really want to rock the boat because you are a little bit out of your depths and you don't really want to cause a scene because you're used to being accommodating. But you just feel like you're not being treated fairly in this situation. Should you be acting accordingly? A woman cut you off in the grocery line. She saw you. You had your basket. She knew exactly where you were going, but she sped up. She walked a little faster just to get right there in front of you. Now you're standing behind her, looking her up and down, pissed off, but you're saying nothing, even though you know exactly what she just did to you. Should you be acting accordingly? You have big goals, big dreams, ambitions. Huge. You feel it in you. You feel it in your heart. You feel it in your soul. You feel like it should be yours, that you were meant for it. But everyone around you, they've been Debbie Downers. No one's really been giving you the support that you would actually like to have, right? You're still in that phase where you're trying to figure out how to make that thing work. You don't really know how to do it yet. Then you think about it a little bit too hard. You psych yourself out. You get scared. So then you give up temporarily and then you go work at a bullshit job where, nobody appreciates you and nobody will ever honor you or the art that you are able to produce. They will never give a damn about the impact that you can actually bring to the world or bring to your field. They will never respect you and everything that you can bring to the table. But you got a little bit scared because your goal felt kind of big. So you sit there in a job you hate, saying, "Oh, why me? Why does nothing good happen to me? I have bad luck," right? But are you acting accordingly? Even for some things that are not related to people. What about just things that you want? Are you acting accordingly there? You've been thinking about wanting a new car for years now. You drive the car that you have, and yeah, it's a little bit old, but you always say that thing, well, it gets me to A and B. It gets me to where I need to go. But during the summers, it takes the AC a little bit long to kick on, and it's really, really hot. And I know I'm working my ass off, but for some reason, I haven't accepted that I deserve to get to and from work at the place that I'm working my ass off in a way that's comfortable in order for me to then comfortably work my ass off. So I'm going to stay in this older beat up car because it works. It gets me to point A and B, but I would really love a new car, but God is just not hearing my plans. God's not hearing me. God doesn't want me to have a new car. I would really like a new car, but you keep saying shit like, well, it gets me to A and B. You know what else gets you to A and B? Newer cars. Are you acting accordingly? Maybe you wanted a house with a pool. I don't know. But you found a different house that was good enough. Didn't have a pool. But maybe you shouldn't be so greedy. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe you got lucky with the one that you found. So you're just going to be happy to have that one. You're just going to be happy to have that particular opportunity. Right? Even though you wanted the pool. You sat there, you prayed, you said, God, I know I want this pool. I deserve this pool. I deserve to have this pool. I work so hard for this pool. But you take the lesser house because it was good enough? Are you acting accordingly? So, from this point forward, whenever you reach a point where you're like, just feel like I deserve a little bit more, act accordingly. And that could be moving, going, doing, saying something, enforcing a boundary, walking away. But what it usually is simply expressing the thing that you actually want in the first place. I say this so often in a workplace. I use workplace scenarios a lot because I just feel like it's something that like people can relate to because it's a day-to-day thing where like there's always like one person on the team that everyone like dumps their shit on, like their work, and then like everyone else seems to be doing nothing. And what I realized is that that person is saying yes or okay, or they're saying everything that's not no, I'm not going to do that. Or no, like I can't do that. Or no, I don't have time to do that. And the people that are saying no, I'm not doing that are the ones that like the other person is secretly resenting because they're like, well, how are they getting away with it, but I'm not getting away with it? And it's because they're getting away with it because they're refusing it. But like you're not getting away with it because like you're not refusing it. And you have to learn how to refuse things that you feel like are settling, right? Like if you want to be in a loving relationship with someone that loves and like honors you, that would kiss the ground that you walk on, Benjamin from Tinder is just not going to cut it. You know that. But that's not what you're doing. What you're doing is saying, well, maybe we'll take it slow. I love that one. Let's go with the flow. What fucking flow? We're adults. The flow is the grave. That's where we're all fucking going. We're dying. In the story. What flow are you actually going with? And you're sitting here spending your time entertaining someone who you know is not going to give you the thing that you want. But you're sitting here not wanting to be too much, not wanting to overwhelm the person, not wanting to come across as you're asking for too much or that you are too demanding or that you're too this or too that because someone in the past has manipulated you and told you that you were those things simply because you voiced what you actually wanted. And now you're over here settling, but then when you're alone, you're crying over a bottle of wine talking about no one is ever going to love me. No. Are you acting accordingly? Are you acting in a way that suggests that you love yourself in that moment? Are you acting accordingly by implementing boundaries with that person? Are you acting accordingly by actually going to get what you want? Are you acting accordingly by openly voicing to the people that you're dating, these are my expectations? And damn it, if you have a problem with them, I have a problem with you. No, that's not what you're doing. You know why that's not what you're doing? Because you're all empaths. You all have good hearts. I get it. I'm one too. You love fearlessly and deeply. You wear your heart on your sleeve. Some of you walk around like a stone, but you're really just mushy gushy on the inside, and you're only acting like a stone because somebody hurt your feelings 3 days ago, but you're really just like the softest pile of goo that actually ever existed. And so you are mindful and you're considerate of other people and how you may be impacting or affecting other people, or whether or not you're hurting other people's feelings. And by being that way, you're allowing other people to hurt you. And then the spiritual community goes, but I'm an empath. I can't help it. So it's a crock of shit. You can be an empath and still fight for your own interests. Because fighting for interests are important. If it wasn't important, you wouldn't have lawyers. There's an entire field of people dedicated to fighting for somebody's interest, but you can't fight for your own. So as you are transitioning and you're reconfiguring your life and you're severing these ties with people that you were previously appeasing, and by severing ties, I do not mean ending relationships. I mean severing the pieces and the bonds that held you together due to you accommodating them, due to you always doing what they wanted you to do, due to you letting them talk to you reckless, but then you not saying to them, hey, let's not do that. Donald, sweetie, I'm not attacking you secretly. This is publicly. It's on the internet. I'm going to tease Donald for a minute. Hold on. Wait. Not secretly, honey. It's a little public, but it's done with love. It's done with love. So as you're going through, ask yourself, but do I deserve more? And start like doing it in literally everything. Because what's going to happen is that it's going to be harder to do it with bigger situations, right? Because you're not in the practice of it. You're not in the practice of working to serve your own interests, because especially in the spiritual community, it's about service, right? We're here to serve, blah, 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 blah. But we have to remember that being of service is not being a servant. And I think in the spiritual community, people oftentimes are mixing the two of those things up. They're mixing them up. They're thinking that being of service is being a servant. And then they're talking about I'm an empath. And then they're letting everybody around them walk all over them. And then they're struggling with that. And then they're going, well, this is part of the spiritual experience. The part of the spiritual experience is not to be a doormat. Part of the spiritual experience is remembering who you are, remembering the power that's within, and then walking in that truth, right? But in order to do that, because you are not in practice, because no one really talks about it, is to start by doing small things, right? And so it may have to be a situation, start with like a meal. How many times have you eaten food that you did not want to eat because you didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings? Like, how many times have you made the decision to accommodate and appease somebody else? They cooked food. You didn't want to eat it. Maybe it even made you sick. And but you did it anyway. You went against your own interest because you didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Maybe it was too salty, but you ate it anyway. And now you're sitting there with high blood pressure because you didn't serve your own interests. And we do that a lot with food. It's such a common thing because it's so simple. We don't really think about it. Or the time maybe you went out with a friend, you're hanging out throughout the day, you feel a little bit hungry. So you say to your friend, hey, you want to get some food? I'm hungry. And then they say, oh, maybe later. I'm not really hungry right now. And then you end up sitting there for an extra 30 minutes to an hour, maybe a couple of hours, hungry, developing migraines because you're trying to be accommodating to this other person who just said that they weren't hungry. Because what that person in that moment did was they chose their interest. No, I'm not hungry. And you dishonored your own by then not eating. The one function that you need, the thing that keeps you alive, your biological function, you rejected it because you were trying to be accommodating to somebody else. And it happens that fast and people don't see it and they don't notice it because it's not sitting in the consciousness, but it happens that fast that we will reject our own biological needs to stay alive in order to appease somebody else, to not rock the boat, to not be annoying, to not be a burden, to not like get on their nerves, whatever. But we do that, right? And so then you sat there hungry with hunger pains, hungry, finished the outing with the friend, then rushed home to eat. Because you're like, holy shit, I'm starving. Because you didn't act accordingly in the interest of yourself. So I want to start you small. I want you to start with food or a meal or something else that you think is small, right? So for example, let's say someone offers you a meal. You don't want it. Honor that. Say you don't want it. Or they offer you a dish that maybe, I don't know, you're not a big fan of, or it's something that you're slightly allergic to, or you have a slight intolerance to. I mean, it's not going to send you to the hospital, but you know it has a slight intolerance and you would have originally eaten it because you didn't want to create a stir. I want you to start not eating those things. And when doing it, you're not going to do it from the perspective of oh no, I don't want it, but you're going to start using your voice and you're going to start advocating for yourself and speaking up for yourself and simply explaining to people why you don't want it, why you don't want to eat it, why you don't want that thing right now. No, thank you. I'm full. No, thank you. I have an allergy to that thing. I have an intolerance to that thing. No, thank you. It's a little salty and I'm watching my blood pressure. No, thank you. There's a lot of sugar in it and I don't want to spike my levels. Or my husband's personal favorite. No, thank you. It's not my style. It's not my style. Not my style. I appreciate it. I appreciate you considering me in that way, but it's not my style. No, thank you. Learn to say no, thank you. And always do with the food. But then there's a flip side to doing it this way, right? In addition to rejecting it, also allow yourself to have the thing that you want to have. Now, when I'm talking about it from this perspective, I'm not talking like going outside what you consider to be your moderation, right? I'm not saying if you are someone that's like diet and exercising, going outside of that thing, everything is a cheat day. That's not what I'm saying, right? What I'm saying is those little disordered eating moments that a lot of people have a tendency to have, where the reason why you don't eat that thing isn't because of moderation, but it's because you are beating yourself up about it. Because you're saying, oh, how dare I eat it? I shouldn't be eating it. I shouldn't be enjoying that thing. When it's that moment, right? Allow yourself to partake in order to enjoy it. I'm not saying to go overboard. I'm not saying to overindulge. Allow yourself, accommodate the desire, right? Allow yourself to have your interests, fight for your own interests. Don't be the person that is standing in the way of your interests, because a lot of people will sit there and say, I'm mad at everybody. Nobody is considering me. Nobody is thinking about me. No one is thinking about my needs or what may be important to me. Yet you're not serving them either. Yet you're mad at everybody else for not serving them. However, you haven't provided an example for what to do should they want to serve them. So you're going to use it as an exercise of honoring yourself, serving your interests, doing the things that you want for yourself, right? If you were out, right? Because you know your girl loves to shop, and you are at a TJ Maxx or a Marshalls, and I'm using those stores very intentionally because we know they have good discounts, and you are perusing, and you feel like you are someone that traditionally works very hard, that you are out there grinding for everything that you have, that you are making sure you're taken care of, your family's taken care of, that your bills are paid on time. If I'm talking to you, I'm talking to the person that is taking care of everybody else and not taking care of themselves. And then you are in a TJ Maxx or a Marshalls, and you see something cute, and it's got a reasonable price tag on it, and you pick it up and you admire it, then you put it down, then you walk away. But then as you're walking away, you're thinking about it. Then you look at something else. But as you're holding that other thing, you're thinking about that thing that you first picked up. And then you go back and you look at it again. Maybe you put it in the cart, and then you take it back out the cart. And you're doing this beautiful dance with yourself where you're like, I shouldn't buy it. Not I can't, right? Not I can't buy it. You're saying I shouldn't buy it. You have found a reason to punish yourself for why you can't have that thing. I have enough, right? It's an irresponsible purchase because I don't need it. Because here's the thing about leisure shopping. Most of that shit you don't need. That's not the point of shopping leisurely. You see, you're doing it because you enjoy the process of it, but you have to allow yourself to learn how to actually enjoy something. But you're looking at this thing, and like, let's say you're in a situation where buying this thing is not going to be a detriment to yourself, and it's not going to be a detriment to whoever you're taking care of. You know that you can buy this thing, right? It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt the bills. Everything is protected. Everyone around you is protected. It's not going to hurt anything. But you put it away. It's bringing you like satisfaction in that moment. You're happy holding it, looking at it. But for whatever reason, you're like, nah. But then you're also the person that goes, no one ever buys me anything for my birthday. Do they see you buying yourself things for your birthday? Because you had a fight with yourself in a TJ Maxx over something that costs $20. And I don't know about you, but I have had ups and downs financially in my life. And I have been broke beyond measure, like living out of a Dollar Tree before a Dollar Tree turned into $1.25, right? And then now shit being in there is like $7, but like whatever. But I always had this thing where I was like, I'd be damned if I ever allow $20 to give me anxiety. I'll be damned if I ever allow anything that's $50, $100 to give me anxiety. I'll be damned. And I had to like get to the point where I let that go up and up and up and up, where I'm like, I'll be damned. 1,000? Really? Come on. Like I had to like train myself to be like, I'll be damned. Okay. We're not getting anxiety off of that. We're not doing that. Donald says, oh my gosh, I feel guilty when I do this. I never treat myself, but always treat others. Well, that's common, especially in like this kind of collective, in this group. I mean, it's a group of like really empathic people and really loving people. And it's natural to like want to give, but it's so interesting that you say that because, wait, hold on. Where is it? Okay. So before I went live, I pulled some cards and like one of the cards that came out was this one. And it says, gratitude, life is one big continuous circle of giving and receiving. Continuous circle of giving and receiving. If you are giving, and not receiving anything, you are not in alignment. You are out of balance. Receiving is the way the universe maintains a sense of equilibrium, the way it maintains a sense of balance. If you're not allowing yourself to allow things into your energy field, you're not balanced. Everything is going out. And there's also a lot of other like physical effects that can have. Like it can also like mess with energy levels. It can make you really tired. It can make you kind of sluggish because all your energy is going out, but you're not allowing energy to come back in, and your cup has to replenish itself. If you're pouring from a cup, but you're not allowing it to be refilled, then what are you pouring from? You're pouring from reserves at that point. And then when you're dealing with people and you're going through this moment of like, I just feel like no one is thinking about me, no one is considering me, like you're doing it from a place of reserve. You're tired, you're burnt out. You're at the point where you're like, I feel like I've given my all. I feel like I've just given the last that I could give, and like no one is over here like giving a fuck. Yeah, because you're pouring from a reserve. If you're going to give, you want to pour from a full cup. Make sure the cup is runneth over. You don't pour from, I wouldn't even pour from a cup that was half full. Because if it's half full, that means the rest of the stuff that's in the cup is for me. Because you're pouring to other people, it's your cup. Did you drink? Are you still thirsty? Your cup has to be full, and you fill the cup by doing things for you and by allowing other people to do things for you too, because other people, they love you. But what's happening is sometimes it's hard to accept it. Sometimes it's hard to believe it. Sometimes it's hard to believe that someone could care, because what's happening is that you care so deeply that sometimes it's almost difficult to fathom how somebody else would have the ability to care so deeply as well, right? Or maybe it is something a bit more traumatic where you had instances with other people in your life who maybe didn't treat you so well. And then so now you feel like that's how everybody feels towards you. But regardless of whatever it is, you have to make sure the cup is over, like it needs to be full at all times. And it needs to be running over. I need there to be a watery mess on the floor. Like you need to be in you have active flood insurance kind of environment, right? If you are not looking to call the insurer, then your cup is too dry. I don't care if it's 3/4, and the reason why it needs to run all over for you guys is because you guys will inherently give too much. You don't know how to give and then stop. You give. And so you need to make sure that your cup has extra in it. Because if you gave when your cup is regular full, your cup is going to be dry and empty by the end of the day. You're welcome. Oh, we just lost Instagram. Oh man, that hour thing, huh? Oh, we lost them a while ago. We lost them like 9 minutes ago. Whoops. I wasn't paying attention to them. We're working on it. Yeah. You have to allow yourself to receive things. And the weird way energy works, if you're giving it to yourself first, you'll then notice like the shit just starts to come to you. But you have to allow yourself to receive things. You're over here saying that you want more in your life, but you're struggling with the purse that costs $20, $30 at TJ Maxx. And again, when I'm saying struggling, I'm not saying that there are valid financial constraints. I'm talking about it from the perspective of you are having an emotional trigger reaction to it. You are having an emotional experience to that item that you really, really want. And something has happened where you're like, I can't have that thing. And so therefore you don't allow yourself to have that thing. And you're operating from a place of falsehood where, because you could have it, but then you're not allowing yourself to have it. And so then when you sit there and you dream of bigger and you dream of more because your heart is actually calling out for it, there's this voice that's like, I don't actually know how I'm going to do this. I don't actually know how I'm going to get my hands on something more or something bigger. And that's because you're having the same emotional reaction to the of envisioning big as you're having to that $20-$30 item from a TJ Maxx. And if you're taking that emotional reaction that you're having from that $20-$30 item from the TJ Maxx and you're applying that same emotional reaction to that big dream and goal that you have, how much resistance do you actually think you're creating in yourself at that moment? You have to actually allow yourself to like release the resistance to things. And that may mean getting that thing that you were feeling it for. And again, getting it in a way that's not putting you or like your family or your loved ones in a uncomfortable or damaging situation. If you know getting that thing is going to hurt anybody, then you need to start working with the energy of like getting that thing, of allowing yourself to just have that thing. Because if you're rejecting that thing that's small in the grand scheme of what the universe can actually provide, you're not going to get your hands on that big thing that you actually want. And so you have to allow yourself to start small. And it may be with that $20-$30 item. In love, if it's like, I really want to meet someone who treats me well, okay? But then like you're like one of those people who are like, actually, I would prefer a man to pay for my meal. But in a spirit of like everything is like new and like young and everyone's like, no, splitting a meal is okay. And so then you go in there and you like split a meal when really you're like, I really would love if a man paid for me. But you're like not doing that because you're having a hard time accepting that like someone could do that, something that someone could provide for you, someone could want to treat you, someone could actually want to care about you, because you're so in this energy of always having to do it by yourself. Like you have to start breaking the wall that you build up, breaking the barrier, right? Okay, you want money. Okay, cool. But you got to spend it. You know that, right? Like, you know, like money has a job. Money's job is to be of value. It likes to be used because it's a value. That's the energy of it. That's what it likes to do. And money has a tendency to go to people that like to use it. Like, they like to spend. Even you can have the Bill Gates and be like, oh, I like to live modest, but the shit he does spend his money on, he be spending money on it. They like to spend. And so you have to get used to allowing things to go out. And then so people go, okay, but if it goes out, will it come back in? Well, yeah, because it's supposed to go out. Well, I feel like if I spend it, then I'm going to lose it. Well, you're not going to lose it, but there may be a moment where that particular dollar you won't have. Yeah, because that's what it's supposed to do. It's like breathing. In and out, and in and out. If you hold your breath, what do you think that's going to do when it comes to your mortality? Will holding your breath, air, something that you very much need, will that keep you alive? It has to go out. In and out, in and out. And it's the same thing with money. In and out, in and out. And even with love. You are holding on to people that you should not be holding on to. They need to go out in order for the right one to come in. So from now forward, ask yourself, am I acting accordingly? Is the way I'm acting in alignment with that thing I said that I actually really want to have? Is it in alignment with that life I said that I actually really, really, really want to have? Every time I have this moment where I'm laying in bed at night by myself and I'm dreaming of what could be, or I'm lamenting over what is, have I been acting accordingly? Is it possible that some of these situations that I'm in, I have caused by not acting accordingly? Not that it was your fault, because a lot of it wasn't even conscious. But now that it's in your awareness, is it possible that some of your current situations could have been prevented if you acted accordingly, if you acted in your best interest, if you were there to serve your interests, if you didn't accommodate somebody else? Is it possible that some of the situations that you're in with people in your life now only happened because you said yes to them when you didn't want to say yes? but you did it anyway because you didn't want to rock the boat. And somehow, weirdly, the boat still got rocked. Is that possible? Is it possible that you just have not been acting accordingly? So everything you do from this point forward, but do I deserve more? That needs to be your answer to yourself. The moment you're in contrast, and contrast means, I don't remember if I said this, but contrast means you're in an experience that is not what you would prefer. You have a different preference of how you would like something to go. Your current experience that's being mirrored to you, it's not something you prefer. So now you're in contrast. Are you in contrast? And if you are in contrast, ask yourself, but do I deserve more? And then act accordingly. But do I want more? And then act accordingly. Am I worth more? And then act accordingly. Because the reasons why you're getting less is because you're not acting accordingly. The reason why you feel like you're not being treated fairly is because you're not acting accordingly. There's a reason why that saying exists, that you have to teach people how to treat you. That's a way of like, you got to act accordingly. When someone does something that's crossing a line, you've got to act accordingly. And acting accordingly doesn't necessarily mean that there's a blowout, that there's a fight, that there are curse words being exchanged. Like, it may not even mean that you're saying anything to someone at all. Acting accordingly may be about you, about what you decide to do, about how you decide to move forward, about how you decide to show up in this world, about how you decide to walk, how you decide to continue, how you decide to do something. It may not actually have to include an exchange with anybody at all. You acting accordingly is very much about you. Your career is important to you, but you feel like you're not progressing. That's because you're sitting still. And you may say, well, that's not true. I tried everything. Obviously, you didn't, because if you tried everything, you'd be where you wanted to go. So keep trying, keep moving, keep doing. And that keep trying, that keep moving, and the keep doing may be you acting accordingly. It may be you putting out additional applications and not allowing the fact that you were rejected X amount of times to be the thing that defeats you, to be the thing that you allow to stand in front of you and where you're going. That may be you acting accordingly. You acting accordingly may be you going, not today. You tried it. That was cute. Not today. That may be you acting accordingly. You acting accordingly, maybe I really want that car, but I really like that model. But this one is reasonable. This one is a reasonable choice. It'll get me from A to B. But that one's nice. You may need to go act accordingly. And acting accordingly may be you realizing that because life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, because you are the creator and you're creating your circumstances, that it is always an option for you to create the resources required in order to get the thing that you want. And that maybe you just don't know how to do that yet, and that's cool. But you not knowing how to do that yet is not a good enough excuse for why it can never be yours, and that you cannot continue to use that as an excuse for why it's not currently happening. There's a lot of shit people don't know how to do. That's okay. Like, it's okay that you may not know how to do that yet. It doesn't mean that what you're seeing for yourself in the future is not possible or that it's not going to happen. It just means that currently, right now, you just don't have the answer for how it's going to work. And that's fine. Fall into a place of like knowing like that's fine. You know you want to make a certain amount of money, yet you take a job making less. Did you act accordingly? And then you're sitting there mad talking about, well, I deserve more. You're right, you do. But did you act accordingly? Is it possible that your current financial situation was because you settled? Is it possible that your current job situation is because you settled and you did not act accordingly? And maybe there were other factors that were there. Maybe, you got nervous, you were scared, you really needed something at that time. You got responsibilities, you got bills, you got family. I get it. I'm not saying that all of those things are not valid reasons for why people make the decisions that they make. But I'm saying Did you act in a way that you wanted to act? Because remember, in the beginning of this, I said that we have a tendency to configure our lives in a way that appease other people, in a way that is for other people. So you're right. You may have made a decision because there was other people involved. But if you were in the process of reconfiguring a life to suit you, did you act accordingly? You're running through breakups, man. You got heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. But you're laying down with dusty after dusty after dusty after dusty after dusty after dusty. And then you're convincing yourself nobody will ever want to marry you. Did you act accordingly? From now on, everything you do that is out of alignment, you feel it. I don't really want to do this. I don't feel like this is aligned with my path right now, is when you ask yourself, but do I deserve more? And then you act accordingly. Because you're now going to be acting in the best interest of yourself. And here's the beautiful thing about you guys that I know for a fact that I fully trust, because this is such a beautiful collective, is that because you guys are so considerate and so loving and so genuine, any decision that you make that is acting in the best interest of you will serve other people. You will not be able to be there and love and care for other people in the way that you desire if you are not acting in your best interest, because you are not well enough to show up. For those of you that feel like you want to serve others, serve yourself first. Because we are all aspects of the whole. And if you are not serving you, then you're not actually serving others, because we're all one. And we can't be on one if there's an aspect of it or a piece of it that's not getting what it needs. And you will be better, and you will be brighter, and you will be happier if you allowed yourself to fight for your own interest, to fight for yourself, to allow yourself to pursue the things that you know that you want and that you deserve. If you empower yourself to simply act accordingly. All right. Well, you guys, I don't know if anyone's saying anything because of this thing, but if you got any questions in the meantime, you can drop in the chat. We'll go over the cards that came through, and then we'll wrap. Okay. So when I did these cards earlier, right, I actually laughed to myself when they came out, because I was like, I just felt like it was so on point for what I was actually picking up, that I was like, they're not going to believe that shit. They're going to be like, she picked them those herself. Oh, thank you, Donald. Okay. So the first one that had came out was planning. And so that one resonated for me immediately, because obviously we've been talking a lot about this energy of wanting something different, wanting something new, but trying to figure out how to get there, trying to figure out where I am at now. How do I make that leap? How do I make that bound? Right. But there's one message that's really sticking when it comes to this planning thing. I think that I want people to have a very fluid idea of what planning is. There's an aspect of staying out of the way so that the energy can do what it's supposed to do. And the reason why you want to stay out the way is because you don't want to be so in the midst of it that you are in the way of what your higher self is trying to finish, right? Because all of that major stuff is decided prior to incarnation. Now, the things that we decide here are like the details. It's like the day-to-day kind of stuff. But like the major, like the plan of life, like that's already kind of decided. And so if you are trying so hard to decide something, you can actually end up getting in the way of like where it is that you're actually supposed to go, or where it is that you're actually supposed to be. And because people will think, okay, I want to go here, so that must mean I must do A, B, C, D, E, and F, not realizing that like you can skip all those steps. And so like an example of that would be prior to us being in a social media age that we're in, prior to things like TikTok, if you wanted to be a singer-songwriter, the steps that you had to take to get there were like elaborate. The team that you had to have, the being in the right place at the time, at the right time, the schmoozing. I remember like artists those days back when like radio was a thing, was a big deal. They had to like meet with the execs of like a station and then sing for them like a real live demo, right? And then the execs would choose whether or not the song made it on the radio, right? Now it's a situation where like you literally turn on TikTok, you hum a couple of notes, the internet decides if it likes it, and then you can blow up from that way. And all of those steps that used to be the steps in between to get somewhere are obsolete. They're not needed. You don't actually really need to do those things anymore, right? People wanted to have their own radio show. You do it now. It's called a podcast. You make your own podcast. You don't need permission. You don't need a team. You don't need anything. You don't need anybody. And so a lot of you guys that I'm picking up on, you have what you think are steps. And it's very important that I say it's what you think are steps. It's not necessarily that those are the steps. You're forgetting that you can cheat. Ooh, that just came out. Hold on. That resonated with me. Wait a minute. that just came out. Like that just flew out my mouth. Interesting. You can cheat. So with this being like this game of life, it's your game. You're designing it because life is happening through you. It's not happening to you. You're creating these elaborate rules, game rules that like you don't need to abide by. You can cheat. And spirit will help you cheat. Your higher self will help you cheat. And the universe will help you cheat. So there's a level of planning that you need to keep that in mind. Right. But then there's a different level of planning that like, okay, you may need to do that you haven't been doing before. So I'm going to go back to this car thing. And because I don't know, it's like really just like sitting there. So I feel like someone wants to buy a car. I've been thinking about it. But like there's one thing of going, okay, I really want a car. When a car is ready for me, when I can have a car, when the money comes, when it manifests, when God gives me the car, I'll know. Right. And then like it feels like time has gone by. And then this car hasn't shown up. But what I'm hearing is like, okay, we got you, but like spirit can't like research different cars. Spirit can't go on YouTube and like look up reviews. Spirit can't choose the car you want. Spirit can't go to a couple of dealerships and like test drive the car. There's a feeling of it being like, well, did you choose the damn car you wanted? Because spirit can help you with the other shit, but do you even know what kind of car you want? And then what I'm getting is like, no, you don't, because you want to look at like these kind of models, but then your mind goes, oh, I shouldn't go that far. And then so because I don't have enough money, or I can't, or it's like I'm not worth it or whatever. And so what's happening is that then you're going back to like the lower model cars, but then you don't really like those. And then so what's happening is that you're sitting in the space of like not choosing a car, but then needing a car, thinking that you're going to be delivered this car, but then the car is not coming. And then being upset because you feel like your manifestation isn't working when it doesn't really have anything to do with that. It's like spirit can help you with like the like part of the planning, but like there's parts that spirit can't do. And that is a part of planning that spirit needs your help with, which is like the choosing of the car, which is like going to test drive it, reading the reviews, actually making the decision on which one it wants prior to then spirit sort of stepping in and then helping bring it in to you. Like it's one of those things where it's like you say to spirit, help me get a car. And the spirit goes, well, what car? There's a lot of cars. Like what car? Like what? That car? Like it's that kind of feeling. And so when it comes to planning, it's like I need you to be a little bit more fluid. Like, yeah, there's a whole energetic spiritual aspect that's to it, but then there's also a part that like spirit can't just like materialize and do for you. Spirit can't like materialize and go to the dealership and then sign all the paperwork for you. You got to do that yourself. And so there's like an aspect of like planning that you need to do on your side. With that being said, I do feel the need to point out like be mindful of how far out you allow your planning to go, and the sense of like, okay, so for me, I have like, I call them outlines. I usually have like a year-long outline, and then I'll have like a 5-year intention, not a plan, not a goal, because I think a goal is too vague, more like an intention. And the intention is because, oh, I'm gonna get that thing. But how it gets there, I don't want any part of that. That's not my business. I'm not interested in the details of it, right? But I only do the outline for the year. And the reason why is because I may do an outline and the outline is so small or is missing details that, or it's making it harder for me, right? Like, so I can make an outline and I put all these measures in it, and then half the measures I put in it that I think are important, and I may put that there because that's all I can come up with based off of like my current rate of evolution. And it doesn't take into consideration how I may have changed or grown or evolved in the next 2 to 3 years. And so it's like outdated. And so like my evolved self is now working to do something that 2-3 years ago me wrote, and I have a different perspective as my evolved self. And so I don't like to make plans that are that far out because too many things happen. Life can change drastically overnight. And I'm someone where every year at New Year's, when I turn around, I'm like, holy shit, what happened? And so because of that, I don't do 5 years out. You can say, what do you want to be in 5 years? Rich. That's it. That's all I got. That is the intention. I don't have a plan. I got ideas, right? I mean, I'm not totally blind. I got a little psychic in me. I have an idea of what's about to happen, but like, I'm not going to set like hard metrics for it because then I'm going to get in the way of myself. If today me sets hard metrics for me 5 years from now, then that's not fair to the me 5 years from now, who would have learned new things, who would be more knowledgeable, more wise, right? Better skilled at whatever. And if that person has to go by what I said today, it's just like not setting me up for success. And so because of that, I don't plan that far out ahead. And then it also allows me to leave room for serendipity, fun, pleasant surprises. And so when you're going through trying to figure out your plan, I just would like to throw that in there. The next thing that came out was protection. Just being protected in this moment of time, knowing that you're not going to be dropped on your ass, right? So that feeling of like, oh my God, where's my security blanket? Understanding that like it's always there. Also understanding that you always at a minimum have 2 security blankets because one of those blankets is yourself. Understanding that you're not going to let yourself down. Understanding that mistakes are a product of learning, and that a mistake does not mean that you let yourself down. Understanding these things, right? You will be protected in the process. It's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable as you're reconfiguring, but that it's okay. And that all you have to do, which how stereotypical of us here in a spiritual community, is maintain your flow. Just be in flow and respect that flow is a rhythm. That flow is an in and that flow is an out. That flow is a gain and then flow is a release. That flow is a giving and that it's also a receiving. And that flow ebbs and flows, and that it's not consistent and that it's not linear. And just because it's not linear, that doesn't mean that you're not flowing, right? It just has to like waves. It has to go in and out. You go to the beach, the water doesn't just sit there stagnant. It has to go in and out. And as it's going in and out, it's all recycling underneath. There's so much happening energetically that's actually going on in the water. It needs to happen, right? So allow the flow to actually take place because this is important. So the next card that came out was surrender your belief in scarcity, which is why I was like, oh, they're going to think I made this up. The universe is asking you to open to the infinite nature of abundance. And this way, you can remove blocks in your life and succeed beyond your wildest dreams. The thing that is holding you back from what you want is you. The thing that is preventing you from getting all that you desire is you. The thing that's preventing that lifestyle you want, that's you. The thing that's preventing the money you want, that's you. The thing that's preventing the love that you want, that's you. The thing that's preventing you from experiencing the family that you would like to have, that's you. The thing that's preventing you from having the amount of fun that you would like to have, that's you. The thing that's preventing you from allowing you to travel and see the world in the way that you would love, that's you. The thing that's in your way is you. Hate to say it, but sometimes you're the problem. With love, of course. And so we already went over this one that came out, which was the gratitude. This one came out, which is interesting because this comes out almost all the time. And so it's obviously a theme, right? Choices, which comes out. I harp on you guys about this all the time, but hey, if it needs to be said again, it needs to be said again. When you accept responsibility for your life and the choices you make, you begin to tap into the power of your own spirit. You'll be able to listen to and appreciate the intuitive wisdom that's inside you and apply it positively and constructively to your outside world. This is not about you feeling like you need to beat shit down. Now, if you want to beat it down, I'm not going to stop you. Okay. That may be a part of your healing process, but that's not really the goal here. The goal is just to choose you. The goal is to make new choices in order to reconfigure the life that it is that you want. And the new choices are just the choices you want. It's really that simple. The choices that will bring you happiness, the choices that will bring you satisfaction, the choices that will bring you fulfillment. It's just what you want, what you feel like you should have, what you deserve to have. Do you deserve more? Act accordingly, meaning make a new choice. And then the last one that came out, and I promise you, I did not pull this one myself with an intent to trigger. But do I believe I am worthy? Should we sit with that for a second? Do you believe that you are worthy? Do you feel like that may be some of the reason as to why you stop where you stop? Why you sometimes get scared to pursue more? Why you accept poor relationships? Why you allow people to disrespect you as often as they do? Why you struggle to stand up for yourself? Is it the reason why you struggle to receive love from other people? Is it the reason why you struggle to accept a gift when someone wants to give it to you? Is it the reason why you have a hard time asking for help? Is it the reason why you feel like you have bad luck? Is this the reason? Do you believe that you are worthy? Do you believe that you are worthy of everything that you seek, of all that you wish to have? You are worthy. You are deserving. And you are loved. Start seeing the divine beauty within you and go out and claim the life you've dreamt up. Your crown has been bought and paid for. Put it on your head and wear it. For a big goal or dream you have, ask yourself, do I feel worthy of this? And then you say, I'm worthy of it all. Why are you worthy of it all? Because you're fucking magnificent. Why are you worthy of it all? Because you are a fucking gift and people should be proud that you are even around them, that you would even bless them with your presence. Why are you worthy? Because you matter, because the things that you say matter, because who you are matters, because you deserve to take up space, because you deserve to share an opinion, because you deserve to fucking be who you are. Why are you worthy? Because it's already on your heart. And if it's already on your heart, then it's there for a reason. but you have to take accountability for it. Just like power, no one is going to give you your worth. Power cannot be given. It can only be taken. That's why you see all these men out here battling for scraps. You have to take it. It exists within you naturally. When people don't know that it's in them naturally, they work really, really hard to take it from somebody else. It's the same thing with worth. No one is going to give you your worth. Your worth is something you decide. Your worth is something that you take. And so from this point forward, if I'm now putting it in your consciousness that you have left your worth on the floor, I want you to pick it up. I want you to do an exercise with me. And I want you to envision, where did you leave your worth? Where did you put it? Did you just put it on the floor? Like taking off a crown and putting your crown down and never picking it back up? Is it fragments that you left all over the place in different cities with different people? Where is it? Where did you leave it? Where did you put it? Because when a baby comes into this world, they know they're worthy. They know they're worthy of all that they seek. If not, they wouldn't have chose to incarnate. They know. But then life gets its hands on you. So where did you leave it? And pick it back up. And like the car says, take your worth and now picture your worth as a crown. And pick it up. And for some of you, it's going to feel like you have to dig the crown out of a closet. For some of you, it's going to feel like it was on the floor. For some of you, it's going to feel like it got ran over by a car and it's got some dings and dents and now you got to straighten it back out. For some of you, it's going to look like it's dusty and maybe it needs to be polished. For some of you, it's going to look like maybe it's really, really shiny and well preserved and in good condition, but maybe it was stored in a glass case and now you're finally going to retrieve it. But wherever your crown is, it's time for you to pick it up, polish it a little bit, do that thing with your sleeve where you do this and you shine it a little bit and put it on your head. And maybe the first time you wear it, it leans a little crooked because you're not used to holding it. And that's okay. Right? Because one day you're going to wear that shit like this. And one day you're going to allow yourself to embrace the heaviness that comes with it. It's okay that it may feel a little bit heavy right now because you're not used to wearing it. Your muscles haven't worked out enough to support it. That's fine. But pick it up and put it on. Try it out. See how it feels to walk through this world with your shoulders back and your head up and your chin up. Even if you hit a setback, you're going to do so with your shoulders back and your head up and your chin up. Because setbacks and mistakes are only a product of learning. It is not an indication that you have failed at anything. You just learned how to do something better, and that's okay. And it does not mean that because you went through a learning process that you are not worthy of anything, that you're not worthy of that thing that you really desire. And as this new person who is wearing the crown, even if you feel a little bit awkward, even if it's like tilting and you're like, okay, hold on, right? That person that is now wearing that crown, I want that person to go into work tomorrow. How do you show up? How would you now act accordingly? Thinking about the situations that you encounter in that workplace, how would you now respond with your crown on your head? In that relationship or maybe situationship that you're currently in right now, with that crown, how do you now show up? How do you now act accordingly? What do you do? How do you speak? How do you walk? How do you introduce yourself to somebody that is new? How do you say your name? Surely someone with a crown has a lot more pride when they speak their name. And as you walk around with this new heavy crown that's on your head, the next time you reach a situation that you don't prefer, you must ask yourself, but do I deserve more? And with that crown, you will act accordingly. And with that, I'm going to wrap. And I'm going to leave you with that. And I love you guys. And I thank you guys for being with me here today and hanging out with me and listening to new perspectives and being all that you are, because all that you are is beautiful. And with that, I wish you guys good night.